So when it comes to badass one-on-one Gundam fight scenes, there's really only a handful that are really visceral and awesome, and one of them definitely has to be the Kampfer versus the Gundam NT1 Alex. Now, I've never taken a look at the Master Grade Kampfer. I always mean to. It's one of my all-time favorite mobile suits. It's ridiculously cool. But today we're going to be taking a look at an even darker, more potentially awesome-looking redesign by the amazing Naoki. Now, this right here is the Kampfer Schwer. This is Kokuyo's mobile suit. I have no idea who that is, but if you want one of these of your own, as you can tell from that box right there, this is a monochromatic box, meaning it's P Bandai only. The only place you're actually going to find Master Grades these days, sadly. And if you do want one of your own, I got mine through BUYEE, so the link is down there in the description. Now, I can't really call this a review today because this is a Master Grade. I've only got one day to build, make a video about it, and edit it to get it up because I'm trying to get all of 2023's kits finished and done. So we'll see what we can do and we'll just experience the Schwer. So jumping right on into the aesthetics, and what can I say? This kit right here looks absolutely and utterly badass, which has me, well, it's got my head spinning. The main reason for that is this is the 23-year-old Kampfer at its core. So that does mean this is an absolutely, well, depends on your perspective, I guess, but for me, this was not a fun build whatsoever. So winding back to that a little bit, this has all the old school aspects that you would expect to see in a gunpla from around the 2000s. First off, there's absolutely tons and tons of runners in here, and not in a good way. They're all small bitty runners, and for each element in this kit that, say, has 4 or 6 dimensions or facing directions, you need to build each of those onto a part to make up a full part, if you get what I mean. Each molded face almost is molded in one direction, so that means there's just so many parts to each little element. On top of that, the plastic feels ridiculously cheap, and runner management is abysmal. For example, in this little part right here, just for the legs, I had to actually use the little bit of a part that shows you all the runners you need for that segment, just so I could get each one and only have those on my desk, so the desk wasn't absolutely flooded with runners. And for each part, you have to, well, basically nearly use them all anyway. This is also a kit that does have screws in its build, so that does mean you will be requiring a screwdriver for some aspects. You might be, well, thinking that means it's going to be nice and strong. Ho ho ho, it is not. But anyway, so for me, this was an absolutely ridiculously monotonous build. I don't like this sort of building where bits don't really fit together that well. They don't feel great. There's massive big hollow parts, there's screws, all of that sort of stuff. But what actually shocks me is that in the end, it still looks pretty damn good. This is a dark Kampfer, and some of the new parts that have been added onto it to make it this Gundam Build Divers version give it a kind of cool Sazabi kind of feel. Even though the Kampfer already kind of had that, this version is like a real awesome dark Zeon suit, and it does look nice. So jumping in a little bit closer, in the Kampfer right here, well, for one, it's kind of hard to light against this particular black background, well, right here, but anyway. The Naoki update to the Kampfer already being an absolutely gorgeous kit, just makes this look ridiculously cool. It is so nice. We do have a clear part for the eye. Actually, everything inside of this is exactly as we would have seen with the Kampfer before. A lot of the actual armor is all that's been updated, like the shoulders, those are all brand new, and you can actually tell they almost have a kind of like brushed semi-matte aspect to them compared to the extremely cheap looking plastic of the old Kampfer parts. There has been some changes to the front skirting as well. Again, this looks so much nicer. Real Sazabi kind of vibe to that. And the chest got an upper update there. And I think there's a little bit of stuff on the back, like these wingy bits. But besides that, a lot of this is very dated and very old. Even though there are screws in the build, it doesn't make it any stronger. So it is a bit flappy all over the place. But still, some of the detailing is nice. You zoom on in a little bit closer, a lot of the older little sections are still here, like the nice parts of the Kampfer being all the thrusters all over the place in actual, well, molded in actual color, like the yellow that we're seeing. The new segments like the shoulders have some great panel lines on them. Of course, this is black, so it does mean it's a little more difficult to panel line. If you want to, you'd have to use a lighter color. The new crotch armor is fantastic, and the new head design is very nice too. Go around back though, everything is quite classic looking, but there is still such a nice, cool aspect to the Kampfer. It is kind of a little bit lousy that we just didn't get an updated Master Grade Kampfer, and then this built on top of that. But hey, beggars can't be choosers nowadays when it does come to Master Grade. onto that full 360 spin so you can see all the detail for yourself. Now, this is definitely a flimsy little bit of a kit, so it mightn't be standing so great. A little bit of vibration to it, definitely. Otherwise, if it's just down on a shelf, it should be fine. But there it is. It's very, very nicely detailed, especially in the newer parts. The older parts definitely have that kind of weird wiggle to the mold, but I don't know if they actually used, CG or CAD data back then to actually design kits for actually on the runners or how it was done. But you can definitely see it's not as crisp or as nicely designed, and on the inside there is some kind of artifacts and weird bits on it that you don't actually see exteriorly, which you don't actually see exterior wise, but they are in there. So you can actually see a little bit of classic gunpla inside of all of that. On the whole though, visually it does turn out quite well, but I will mention BUYEE is only skin deep, and in this case, it's just outer armor deep. And finally, there is a little bit of a size comparison besides two classic Gundams, that being the Oryx 78-2 and the Zeta Gundam. So it's about the same height as the Zeta, a little bit taller than your average size Gundam, the Oryx 78-2. So this took me a lot longer to build than, say, something like a high grade, and like I said, one day, one pla is what I'm trying to do for the rest of this year to get the rest of this year's stuff done. So I'm just gonna jump right on into the articulation. And I'm gonna go through it pretty quickly anyway. I will mention that this is quite loose, like very, 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 very loose. And that could be to do with the screw in that leg, I'll actually say that. Now that one feels too tight. I guess that's the thing with screws, they kind of like can be too tight and they can be too loose, but overall the thing is quite janky, especially these little guys around back, and these bits of armor just love to fall off. Anyway, let's try and get into the usual pose. So yeah, getting this into the usual pose, and as you'd expect, this is extremely not that articulation-y. Great English right there. But yeah, this has ball joint hips and everything, and honestly, it could be a whole lot worse. The Kampfer, as far as I know, is a very stocky and very real robot, so I wouldn't expect it to be doing over-the-top poses, so not too bad. In a way, this kind of feels like that new Master Grade Dom, where the insides isn't really that great, and the outsides look a little bit nicer than they did before. Actually, the Dom got some upgrades to its frame. This did not. So this is the same we've been seeing with the Kampfer for the last 23 years. So jumping now into the accessories, and this is everything right here we get inside of the box, which is quite the little armory, and this isn't it, I'll show you the rest in a second. So first off, we've got two of these massive bazookas, we have two shotguns, that little stock segment around back, that is an optional piece. You could have a standard back like this, or that big stock. We've got 6 hands in here. These two fists are brand new for this kit, so feature a brand new mold. This is for attaching it onto an action base, and we've got 2 beam sabers. As for what I couldn't actually fit onto that, we've got this right here. So that is a bunch of little adaptery bits. These are for attaching stuff onto it. There's that stock. We've got optional ends for on those, what are they called, Panzerfausts? And we do have a sheet of water slide decals, which is always nice, and usually something you get with a premium Bandai kit. These are nice too. The kind of white and red combo would look great on the black, especially if it was hit with a matte top coat. So when it does come to the loadout for the Kampfer Schwer right here, I'm just going to put it together like it is in this image right here and go through the accessories that way, instead of actually going through everything one by one. And in case you want to know a little bit more, this particular mobile suit, there's the blurb right there if you want to pause now and find out about it. It's a pretty cool suit. Too bad the kit really doesn't live up to that at all. So when it comes to loading this kit up right here like it is in the image, first off we're going to be attaching on the hands. We do have 3 types in here, and in the image it's using this left hand right here, which is a widespread open hand. Now these are very old. It's got a lot of kind of flash around the edges and mold lines. This is from the original Kampfer, and it's kind of made out of a softer pliable material like you would have seen with a lot of those kits way back then. So that's that hand. Pops on just like so. It does look extremely nice considering its date, but considering the date right now, it looks pretty bad. Over on the other side then, we're going to be using this here holding hand. Now this is as classic as holding hands get. So we do have a movable thumb like so, which is made out of a rubbery material like the other hand. We do have this finger here, which is made out of a rubbery material like the other hand. And then these are made out of normal plastic, and they're not even the same color plastic at all. They don't look the same. Woo, this kit is not awesome. But we do have the option of fists, which we've had on this the whole time. And these are a brand new design for this kit, so these are nice enough. So continuing on loading on the weapons onto this unit. So we've got some bazookas in here. These are extremely simple in that old school kind of way where they've got that massive seam line, not just down the middle, but down every aspect on this. And the nubs do show up quite a bit because nub placement or nub sizes, they weren't really that great back then. We do have a movable handle right here, but we won't be using that. So in here we've got these little adapter segments. These don't actually open up normally, they just pull open like so. And these then attach onto that kind of ring-like segment right there. And then shut, close a little something like that. So that feels okay. Not fantastic, but it'll do the job. We have two of these, so we have to do that twice. That's not the right one. So we do have two of these. We have to do that twice, just the opposite way around. That attaches on. This bit then attaches in there, just like so. So these then attach onto these little holes up here, just like so. So they just push on in like that and can move over the shoulder and fire, just like it said in the blurb. They fire remotely without the handle having to be held. Again, we do have two of these. There's the other one, and that just attaches onto the other side. Get on in there, and there we go. Both of those attached on. Next up then in here, we've got the shotguns. These are really nice. I'd love to see these actually done in a modern day kind of design with the actual moving pump, even though someone said before, why would a giant robot need a pump on its shotgun? And now I can never forget that. There's a stock back here, which I'm pretty sure doesn't brace against anything on the mobile suit. And we have this little segment here that pops up like so that I'm not sure what it's meant to be. Is this meant to be a sight or what? But anyway, we've got two versions, one with the stock, one without, and this loadout actually does use both. So the one without the stock, that gets stored, so you just pop this bit on the bottom. It doesn't actually click, it just kind of balances in there until you get the other half, which attaches then down from the top, just like so. So that's what that looks like. It's just a standard peg, and that then just attaches on in here, and everything. See, ooh, yeah, it's a little bit jank. So next up, it's time to try to get the shotgun right here, which I will mention is in a kind of what, olivey green kind of color, that kind of military green. Now it's going to be fun trying to get this into the hand. I'm actually going to pop off the hand so we can get in nice and close to see what's going to be happening right here. This is stiff so far, definitely awkward. Try and slide this up and into the hand. Oh, there we go. That doesn't make a lick of sense for it to hold it like that, but that's what we get. Honestly, at this point, I'm like, couldn't Bandai have popped in a pair of pre-molded hands that'll just clamp on this weapon? That's a little bit lame. And now try to get that into the hand without it all falling apart. And, you know, honestly, compared to some older kits I've actually tried to attach the weapons onto, like the EZ8, that isn't the worst. It doesn't make much sense the way it holds onto it. Not at all. I guess a giant robot shouldn't necessarily have to pull a trigger. It probably could do something through the palm of its hand, but yeah, there she blows. Next up in here, we've got a pair of beam sabers. These have a yellow beam, which is quite unique and nice. It's got that kind of slashing shape to it, but all we're going to be doing with these today is storing them away. This is a nice shaped handle. Now, you don't actually just remove the beam when it comes to this kit. You remove the whole top segment with the beam like so, and all you actually store is this small end part here that just fell on the floor, might be gone forever. Popping these half saber handles into the holes is, well, very simple. You just have this little part at the top pointing outwards and they slide in like so, and on the other side slide in just like that, and that's what they look like attached in. Simple, effective, and does all it needs to do. Next up in here, we've got these. Now, these, as far as I know, are referred to as Panzer Fausts. Now, we do have two options for these. This is the held in the hand kind of version, and if I'm not mistaken, then you have a fired version by pulling off the top like so, and then attaching it onto this alternate piece just like so, looking like, well, what it is, a bit of a bomb. The way these store on the Schwer right here is quite cool. So, whoa, I take that back, nothing cool about it at all. That just fell right off. But anyway, we've got these, it wasn't attached down, that was my fault. We've got these little opening segments just like so, which click into position when they're attached on correctly. They open like that, and then these can just attach on into these slots, a little something like that, And like that. So there is both of those attached. Now, I feel there's a little bit of missed potential here. If I was designing this, would have popped both of these sticking out of the front skirting so they could be fired like an emergency weapon. And I would have put these beam sabers in the back of the arm right here so you could actually have them used almost like a bit of a claw in close combat. But hey, this is what we've got. I suppose it's so it can pass these over to the other arm when in use and they don't attach on that great. Anyway, so finally the last things that the manual right here is telling me is a couple of gimmicks. So first off, a lost art when it does come to gunpla, and that is the opening cockpit. That opens up just like so by pulling it down and flipping it back, flipping it even, and yeah, there's your pilot figure inside in grey. Lastly, we do have a little bit of an extended gimmick around on the rear butt flap for these thrusters. They pull out just like so, but I had a little bit of trouble pulling out the one on the right for whatever reason. Maybe it's in wrong or whatever, but it just did not work out. But anyway, that right there is it for the review, and there's not really much to say here. There really is just two paths when it does come to this kit. Number one, do you want a dark Kampfer that looks pretty awesome up on your shelf? Well, this one will definitely do that. Two, do you want a kit that's truly a good modern master grade? Well, this is not it. It may say 2023 on the box, but what's inside is most certainly mainly 2000s very classic Gundam kit, and you may actually like that, but if you're hoping this was a brand new retool of the Kampfer, it is not. This to me is a silver tier kit. Bandai put in very minimal effort really, and sadly that seems to be the case with master grades, standard master grades these days. The last full release master grade we got was just a kind of retooled Dom. We haven't seen anything since, and most P Bandai master grades are just recolors. It's a little bit sad for master grade fans, but hopefully we'll see some more next year and we will be shocked. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews. If you want one of your own, I got mine through BUYEE, so link is down there in the description, and I'll see you next time. As always, this video right here would not have been possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and all of these awesome people right here who help out on the channel memberships and over on Patreon, including 10 Soldier YT, Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Dashel Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Lauren Seahack, or G95061, 10 Soldier YT again, and Van Fawn.